Good evening, Jessica Harmson with ABC News. More parts of the state's north have been hit by huge downpours in the past 24 hours, damaging homes, businesses and roads in Pukaja, in the APY lands and in Port Augusta. The unseasonal weather this past week has caused widespread road closures. The Strzelecki track through Moomba is impassable. The Birdsville track is also cut off, and the Stewart Highway, a major freight route, won't be open for at least another 12 days. One of the towns cut off by the past heavy rains is Coober Pedy, from where Patrick Martin joins us now. Pat, Coober Pedy missed a large rain band today, but what about other towns further south?
Jess, there's been plenty of rainfall right across regional and remote South Australia today, but Coober Pedy did miss the worst of it, and that did have locals here breathing a sigh of relief, I've got to say. Experts say this type of rainfall event that we're seeing in South Australia only happens once every 20 or 30 years, and given that we're supposed to be in the middle of summer, it has caught much of the state off guard, and that includes the town of Port Augusta, which, after a massive rainfall event last night, is bracing for a significant clean-up.
Port Augusta gone mad!
It began around 8 o'clock last night. A torrential downpour that turned Port Augusta's main street into a river.
This is my car, gone in a flash flood. I'm like a drowned rat.
Mati Ivanovic was one of dozens of drivers towed to safety by local tradies as 50 millimetres of rain fell in as many minutes. Some properties recorded even more.
How much? 70 mil.
Locals were left shocked by the once-in-a-century deluge.
January's usually stinking hot, so it's very unusual.
The SES received hundreds of call-outs for help throughout the night as trees were felled and houses inundated.
In here, you was up to your ankles in water.
Craig Ellis says he's got no idea how high the final damage bill will be.
The doors were all knackered. The house was dropping on this corner because it's been undermined.
Cleanup efforts got underway even as the damage continued. The manager of this local sports store says his staff worked well into the night to salvage what they could.
It'll be a test to see how we all manage it and whether we can get open quickly.
Even though the water was gone, evidence of the storm was everywhere.
Nothing has happened to the roof, but it has all been with the carpet and the electricals, including computers.
With rain unlikely to hit Port Augusta in the coming days, cleanup efforts can begin in earnest. Gillian Area, ABC News, Port Augusta.
And Patrick, how's Coober Pedy faring in this flood emergency?
Well, Jess, it was about as close to a summer day as you could expect here after the morning rain cleared, but this emergency is not over for Coober Pedy or the state's far north, not by a long shot, and that's because there remains a severe flood watch in place for almost the entirety of the northeast and northwest, with up to 120 millimetres possible. Now, locals here are really hoping that doesn't fall here or further south on the Stewart Highway, as they really want to reconnect themselves with Adelaide and the rest of the state. It's a sight not often seen. The wide brown land in South Australia's north sodden after a rare rain event.
There is rivers where there shouldn't be rivers and lots of water just everywhere around.
Pukaja on the APY lands copped a bucketing last night, receiving about half their annual rainfall.
This is a very remote part of our state, and it's even less accessible now, of course, with the Stewart Highway cut off.
The highway shutdown last week means Coober Pedy is still isolated, needing more than 20 tonnes of food and supplies to be flown in by Australian Defence Force personnel across the past 2 days. Dozens of people have been stranded, including 82-year-old Milivoy Perkic, his daughter and granddaughter. They were driving from Darwin to Melbourne and remains desperate to get there before Friday, when his wife will undergo heart surgery.
I cannot help my wife, I cannot help my daughter. Just, I don't know. It just lost in space.
Similar sentiment sparked anger in a town meeting where authorities attempted to explain the situation to locals and visitors.
It's only 600 metres of road with a little bit of water over it, so not even a half a metre deep. How hard is it to bring somebody up and just fix it?
Uncertainty is really the issue. No one knows the answer to the critical question is, when is the road going to be opened?
The State Emergency Service forecast won't calm the critics.
And we expect it to be at least 12 days until the water has subsided and restoration works can commence.
At least the weather forecast is looking a little better. The Bureau says a more typical summertime weather pattern will return in coming days after the rain clears. That's cold comfort for those stranded here. Patrick Martin, ABC News, Coober Pedy.